Hi guys, back in 2016 I was confused as to why one wing of unionism in Northern Ireland was warning about the potential problems facing the union while another, the DUP, were actively campaigning to leave the EU. I and others who have been following Northern Ireland over the last few decades knew that if the UK left the European Union it would upset the status quo, a peaceful situation that is like a delicate flower. There was a feeling at the time that Brexit could seriously undermine the Good Friday Agreement. Brexit supporters in Great Britain dismissed any concerns, but the real problem I had was why the DUP were wanting out. They of course wanted the UK out in order to see a hard border erected on the island of Ireland. Hardline unionists thought that this would sink support for a united Ireland, which was lukewarm at best at that time. Now there's another interesting development.
We haven't put all of those figures into the public domain as yet, but it is the case, I think, that the figures that you have are in the same ballpark as the recent Lucid Talk poll, which suggests that there certainly is a greater support for change than there is for the status quo.
OK, so Dan Breen will be running a substantial chunk of the data in tomorrow's Belfast Telegraph, so I would urge people to read that to see the nuance in the data set. But yes, we have surveyed all Alliance members, and there has been a substantial shift towards Irish unity. When we did an academic survey of Alliance 20 years ago, it was, explicitly a pro-union party, albeit not a unionist party. Only 1 in 6 Alliance members favoured Irish unity 20 years ago. That figure has increased substantially to overtake those who support Northern Ireland staying in the UK. That doesn't make Alliance necessarily pro-unity. There's not an overall majority for any particular constitutional option, but it does reflect a shift, and it has been driven by Brexit. Those members, Alliance has seen a surge in membership, and it's those who joined after Brexit. They're the ones who are particularly pro-Irish unity.
So this is so interesting. Now, let me explain a few things before we get into why Brexit is so important here. In Northern Ireland, you have the two wings. One is which is nationalist or pro-Irish unity, and the other is unionist, which wants to maintain the status quo. They want Northern Ireland to remain part of the United Kingdom. So on the one side you have Sinn Féin and the SDLP who want a united Ireland, while on the other side you have the DUP and the UUP mainly. There are other smaller factions, but the principal parties are the DUP and the UUP on the unionist side. Now in the middle there's been a growing demographic of people who are not voting for Sinn Féin, the nationalist parties, or they're not voting for the UUP or DUP, but they're voting for another party called Alliance. And Alliance, as was pointed out here, used to be a pro-union party, not a unionist party, but a pro-union party. But it seems that they are shifting. Now, what's this got to do with Brexit? Well, before Brexit, support for a united Ireland was not significant. But when Brexit started to be implemented, more and more people who had voted, for example, to remain in the European Union realised, look, if we want to be part of the European Union and Britain doesn't want to be part of the European Union, because you're seeing, for example, the Conservative Party and also to a certain extent the Labour Party, they're not talking about rejoining the European Union. The closest way people can be part of the European Union, or as close as possible to the European Union, is via a united Ireland. So people who voted for Remain and were not all that interested in a united Ireland in 2016 are now realising, look, if we want to be close to Europe, then it makes sense to support a united Ireland. Now, there are a number of issues with unification, but when it comes to the Brexit angle, yes, Brexit has undermined support for the union. And this is something that I really didn't understand at the time until I realised that the DUP are basically an anti-Irish, anti-EU party. So they were willing, as I've said on a number of occasions, they were willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Their hatred of Ireland and the EU seems to be stronger than any love for the union. They were hoping that it would result in a hard border being put on the island of Ireland, and this would close off any chance of a united Ireland. But it had the opposite effect. Remember, when it comes to a border poll, when it comes to support for a united Ireland, it's there isn't a majority in support at the moment, according to polling. There isn't a majority in support of United Ireland. There is a significant don't know factor. And if the Alliance Party, which in a sense represents the don't know when it comes to, nationalism or unionism, if they are starting to shift, they could support, if they started to support a United Ireland economically or politically, I think this would start to push also the people who are sitting in the don't know camp. Those people may decide, okay, yeah, let's vote for a United Ireland, because once again, I believe the longer the UK stays out of the EU, the stronger the argument will be for a United Ireland. So a lot of this depends on what happens in the future with the Labour Party in charge, whether they have closer alignment with the EU, whether they campaign to rejoin the EU. I think this is going to have an impact on the Union, and it's going to have an impact on United Ireland. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.